Hey, folks! Thank you for stopping by Kaiser's Castle. Today, grab yourself a coffee, tea, soda, and/or adult libation, because we're gonna have a lot of fun today. I got my brother Dano here. We're gonna talk a little bit about, Joey Poopy Pants. You know, and we're gonna laugh about stuff because honestly, folks, if anybody takes this stuff seriously, which you should, in a way, but realize here's the thing: you can't hate the man because I don't even know if he knows what he had for lunch or what he ate, Mr. Adderall, which I've been told is what they have been juicing him up with. And so Joey Beans, when you see him somewhat lucid, but he locks up, well, he's trying to control that sphincter. This is just the point of it. So with that being said, grab yourself a coffee, tea, soda, and/or adult libation, and welcome to Kaiser's Castle. How's it going, Dano?
Oh, it's going good. Getting ready to watch the races and stuff today. So we're just kind of chilling out here and taking it easy. And I thought we'd swing by and say hello.
Sounds awesome to me, and I'm super glad you did. So bring up what's on your mind, and we can discuss. And this is going to be a funny one because honestly, me and Dano understand everything that's happening, and it's serious, but you don't have to be so serious.
Well, you don't have to be so deathly about it. I mean, really, guys, we knew this was going to happen. We already had seen the indicators during the campaign. The man hid in his basement. I mean, well, it was safer to hide in the basement because that way, then when he needed to go to the bathroom, it wasn't a problem. I mean, look at it like this. I mean, he flew to Italy, and the only thing he got was out of it was pants full of poop. I mean, really, seriously, think about it. That's worse than getting the T-shirt when you go somewhere. So, um, there's a lot of different things that are happening right now with this administration, and they know that their goose is cooked. They also know that they're going to be hamstrung for the next 12 months. Yeah, the next 12 months. Yeah, they're going to be hamstrung. This is going to be 12 months of pre-lame duck, because after what we've seen happen in Virginia and almost happened in New Jersey on Tuesday, I am of the opinion, like many others, that we are going to see the Senate and the House flipped. I know the House is going to flip for sure because they have a lot of Democrats that went ahead and took their seats in a purple area, and it's people are mad. I mean, gas is over $7 a gallon out in California. So I mean, really, think about it in the grand scheme of things. You know, things are going to change, but you don't have to be in the full freak out mode over it. What do you think?
Oh, I agree with you wholeheartedly, brother, but you already know that. I mean, we've known each other so long. It just makes me laugh because you and I were probably the forerunners out there warning. What's funny is the squad voted against the first bill they got out of Congress, which isn't going to go anywhere in the Senate. And for that, McCarthy needs to be held to account
Mm-hmm.
because he couldn't keep his people in line. He had 13 Republicans help push it across the line. Well, those guys and gals probably aren't going to run again. And so they're just trying to. These are the anti Trumpers. These are the Lincoln Project morons. And so just realize that they're looking at a whole new map. And, everybody needs to stop using critical race theory as the term. It's critical theories. It's critical queer theory, critical race theory, critical gender theory. It's all
Mm-hmm.
communist. It's all Marxist. It's all and what they tried to do with Merrick Garland. Hey, look, stop calling him Merrick Garland. This is my suggestion. Start calling him what he is, Milke. Eric Milke, who is the head of the Stasi. That is what he's trying to do with DOJ. This is amorphous that I've seen during the Cold War. Erich Honecker was the chairman of East Germany. Erich Milke was the Stasi chief. He was number 2. It's very easy to understand. And if any of you guys disagree, look up somebody by the name of Leventry. Okay? Leventry said, "Show me the man, I'll find you the crime." Our Constitution disallows that. You have to find the crime and then find the man. And this is what they're doing. It's all reverse. They are trying to restart our country in a way that's not normal, not constitutional. And hey, folks, it's the great game. It's afoot. Now we play. Your thoughts, brother?
Well, they've had a lot of practice on the find me the man and I'll show you the crime. And they started doing that. And I know this is going to be really unpopular with some people. They started doing this with the domestic violence laws. They had to have a way to say, oh, this happened, therefore we believe that this is the case. Well, they would have no evidence, but they would go ahead and the defendant, whoever was arrested 9 times out of 10, hate to tell y'all it's the guy that's arrested, would be put in that position that he had to defend himself. The more that he spoke, the more incriminating information came out, and they just expanded them. Been there, done that, and I can tell you from firsthand experience, your best bet's to say nothing. Let them do the hard part. Don't do the hard part for them. Make them prove their case, much as we're seeing with Kyle Rittenhouse in Kenosha. Every time they turn around and they think that for some reason or another the prosecution has everything in line, their own evidence comes out and clearly shows that it's not the case. The FBI top secret drone footage that showed that Kyle Rittenhouse was being pursued. It wasn't him pursuing, he was being pursued. So they have had this opportunity and they have worked this for many years. And in relation to the domestic violence laws and the federalization of everything regarding that, remember that when people are arrested for domestic violence on any level, the government pays the local authorities, whether it be the courts or the police departments. They're being given federal money for those things that they do related to that case.
Right, like asset forfeiture, whatever, and that's with drugs, and it's with anything. It's really interesting, and it's also a way to grab your guns. Notice they want to do the red flag thing. But the funny part is, folks, look, here's the real deal on it. I'm just going to break it down super easy so you all can understand. Dan went about it. If you can mute, that'd be great, brother. Here's how I look at things when I look at it. I tell people, don't talk to the police unless you are very clear and understand what happened with anything. And you know you didn't do anything. Because there's footage out there. Everybody with a cell phone. Trust me, I've seen this in lifetime, and Dano heard about it afterwards. I have experienced it even in my experienced self. That there's some fucked up shit the government does. And they always put agent provocateurs and in everything. Don't think it's just one thing. And you don't have to go all the way back to any other thing other than the quote-unquote we're going to grab the governor of Michigan and we're going to steal her. And yet out of the 20, I think 26 people that they say were involved, 12 of them were either confidential informants for the FBI or any other agency that was federal. And then you had the people who got co-opted, the 14 people that they found that they could suggest shit to, and then they hemmed them up and gymmed them up. You don't let that happen. That's a rookie move. And now look, they got Grandma, who was let in by the Capitol Police, by the way, who are controlled by Piglosi, and the Sergeant of Arms, both from the Senate and the Sergeant of Arms from the Congress. You know, the guy who comes in with the fasces, it's an altered fasciste. Pelosi actually wears it proudly. You know, it's a little bundle of sticks with an eagle on the top. It's still Roman. It's a fasciste. It's not the axe, but it's still a fasciste. So she has been, I've never seen a speaker wear a pendant of the fasciste except for Piglosi. She's the one who does this. And so when people say, oh, it's not fascist, it's the Democrats, they're this, that, and the other, I'm like, hey, what's the symbology? Or what's symbolic? What are they doing? Why are they doing it? What are they signaling? These are the questions that are more important to answer instead of Grandma in solitary confinement for X amount of months over a nothing burger. She was let in. This is where you get a narrative. And honestly, we need a church commission. And Dano, I want to hear your point on this because, brother, I know you're going to come up with it. We need a church commission like when you had truth tellers coming into the Congress and the Senate and telling them about the heart attack gun that probably was used on Andrew Breitbart and other people who were involved back in the day trying to get the truth out. And, you know, having homeboy journalist, his car racing out of control, and then somehow the motor ends up 50 feet away, and yet it was crashed into a tree. Well, that motor might have blown up. And there was if you look at it, there was a guy out there, he got his squares on, and he's using his garden hose to put out the fire because he lived in California. So that's reporters. And you have people like Glenn Greenwald, leftist. You have people like Tim Pool, leftist. Dave Rubin, leftist. All pointing against this. And I'll tell you another thing. They may not like Trump or whatever. But even used to be with the Young Turks. I'm mind dumping his name now, but good Lord, I can't remember. I subscribe to his channel. Even that leftist used to be with the Young Turks. He's the guy who spit the water in Alex Jones's face. He's coming out against a lot of this stuff, and he understands the truth. And whenever I talk to somebody, local or whatever, and they don't understand what critical theory is, I'm like, read a fucking book. I don't need to hear your opinion from what mainstream media told you. I don't need to hear your, and that includes Fox. I need to know you've read the books, you've done the work. If you haven't done the work, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. At this point, brother, run with it.
Well, it's you know, the most amazing thing is Tuesday night. I have not watched Fox News since what 2020. I haven't. I watched all that take place over a couple of days, and I shut it off. I haven't even watched it. Mrs. Dano was concerned why I turned it on the other night, and I was basically explained to her that I wanted to be able to compare numbers and information on the website in comparison to what they were showing on their from their website in comparison to what they were showing on the TV. And one of the very, very first things that I noticed was their percentage of reporting was drastically different within the first 30 seconds of the entire show. I think they only had like 42%, showing reported within 30 seconds. They had it updated to 48%. Thus, they were embracing the liberal narrative of this is closer than what anyone anticipated, and this is how we are going to win. Well, there's a little meme out there, and it has in relation to do with the ships waiting to come in off the coast of California, as that Democrats couldn't stuff the ballot box because their ballots are sitting in a freighter off of California, off of the West Coast somewhere, waiting to be imported into the country. Okay, so we're going to laugh. That is funny. However, sometimes what people seem to forget is that in the death of George Floyd, the front operation, the bar that they were all working in, was an entry point, and it is a common entry point with the Customs and Border Immigration folks for various counterfeit items, including passports and human trafficking, illicit drugs, and things like that. Think about this. They can't shove all these fake ballots and stuff in through one area. So while it's not exactly what you were talking about, this is still, in the grand scheme of things, this is their function. This is how they operate, and they go ahead and they count on people not doing their homework. They need people not to do their homework. They need people not to do their homework, so they're complacent, and the narrative is still alive. It's just like the 1-6 project, the alleged assault. Ray Epps, you and I were talking about this. Well, Ray Epps isn't the only name that is all of a sudden disappeared with all of his photos and everything. Revolver News has a series of excellent articles on this. But Stuart Rhodes from Oath Keepers, he's no better. And the thing is that when all of this went down, the very fact checkers, the liberal fact checkers, the liberal people who are out here on the internet who like to dox everybody, came up with these names, and all of a sudden, under the Biden administration, all the information disappeared, and no one discussed it anymore. So we have a lot of different moving parts.
Fuck, the FBI talked about Epps. And
yeah,
all
the
of a sudden,
FBI
and then
is
hold on. They all of a sudden he disappeared off their most wanted list. Look,
oh yeah,
here's how this works. He's a bagman. I know Bagman for a reason. Just like Terry McAuliffe was a bagman. Bagmen have a specific purpose that they do. And a lot of people think this, that, and the other, but you never trust a bagman. And I try to tell people, get smart. If somebody's feeding you shit, and it's the same thing with Q. You were there when I told you Q was real, and then when it wasn't. So you remember all the way back then. But see, that's institutional memory. They don't want you to have it. They don't want me to have it. This is the kind of shit the mainstream media pulls for narrative. And that's why I said a church committee. Something that is brought by a Democrat and Republicans, and actually find out the truth. That's how you found out everything about the CIA back in the day. And guess what? The deep state don't want you knowing it anymore. They don't want you to know what their shenanigans are. Anyways, I'll let you run, brother.
I'm sorry, we got a couple different things going on here. Well, and absolutely. And so the deep state knows that they're on a 12-month death march because they know that right now the only person, and we have to keep an eye and hope that he stays safe, that is preventing the wholesale implementation of the um, Obama 2.0 administration, is what I like to commonly refer to it as. The only person that's stopping that from happening in the Senate is the West Virginian Senator Joe Manchin. And
I
he
think
is,
he knows. I think he knows that this is a controlled administration. Your thoughts on that one?
oh, absolutely, he knows. And I was looking at a picture last night. We were watching something on TV, and it was one of the least expected things to see on TV. They compared an old photograph of Joey Baggs when he was with the Obama 1.0 administration compared as to how he looks now. Definitely different. It isn't a conspiracy. It isn't a agent provocateur moment. It is very simply compare the pictures, compare the signatures. Nothing, any way, shape, or form alike whatsoever. If anyone, and you and I have had this discussion before, if any of us were to treat our elderly parents or grandparents like this, we would be arrested with lightning speed for elder abuse. So definitely, this is Obama 2.0, and they have to try to get a reset in place before the 22 midterms, because what I believe is going to happen is they are the the Republicans are going to go ahead and take the Senate back. No two ways to it. That is going to happen. There's a lot of upset people in Georgia. There's also some upset people in New Jersey and Virginia. So these are areas that you have to focus close attention on. Plus, you have to go back and look at the purple Democrats that won during the Trump administration. These four elements add up to unmitigated chaos for the liberals in the event that everything folds and resets back the way that it was before all this took place. Because what is going to happen is, I think in the Congress, I think they said they had, was it 4 or 6? I think it was 6 Democrats that voted against the agenda. So now Pelosi is having a difficult time keeping the ranks in order. She had 6 defections. You never would have heard of 6 defections like that before during Obama 1.0.
Yeah, but we had 13 on
So
the
it
Republican side, and
all of this.
Cinema has maintained, uh, and so has Manchin, her ideas, because the reality smacks them in the face. You know, they will have to be either reelected or unelected. And that's the thing nobody's looking at right now, Dano. And I mean this with all my heart. They don't understand that those 6 are pushing the agenda, and it's a power struggle within the Democrat Party. And, you know, I don't want to use liberal because you and I are both classical liberals, okay? We believe in Jeffersonian Bill of Rights liberalism, you know, that kind of thing. So we're not talking anything un American. But what we are talking about is communism. We both know communism is afoot. And that's the reality of it, and so do those people. And that's what we should focus on. I mean, you and I can disagree and agree to disagree on things. I may be a classical liberal, but just like Jefferson, everybody forgets, he was the most anti war motherfucker on the planet. But remember, Jefferson, there's a reason why it says in the Marine Corps hymn, the first couple lines, from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, when the Barbary pirates were running amok and pressing Americans and women and men into slavery, either on their ships if they're men or in sexual slavery, Jefferson acted and sent in the Marines. And that's why Presley O'Bannon and every Marine officer carries the Mameluke sword. Because it was given to him by a certain sultan who was thankful that he stopped this shit. And, you know, everybody will say, oh, well, Jefferson owned slaves. Yeah, no, he was trying also to stop it. So there's a disconnect from communism. They knew they couldn't enslave us through the worker because the workers were happy. We're making money. We do what we do, and we enjoy our lives. No. So what did they have to do? They had to go after the worst thing they did, separating us, and that's where critical theory comes in. And unfortunately, we've allowed, and everybody can talk shit about McCarthy. I will never talk shit about Tail Gunner Joe, and that was a slur to him. Yeah, he was a tail gunner. Guess how many people completed all their missions? Not many in Europe fighting against the Nazis. But he was Tail Gunner Joe. Yeah, tail gunners, you try getting out of a tail when your airship has been blown out of the air. It's a pretty difficult proposition, and luckily he didn't die. But then they forced, you know, McCarthyism, there's a lot of fraudulence that's been pushed. But he wasn't wrong. He's been proven right. Your thoughts?
Well, I'm of the opinion pretty much of the same way. We're all liberals to a certain extent. We kind of bounce, you know, there's things that we do and we don't agree on. It unfortunately is they count on people being uneducated. Every once in a while, you'll hear me say something like uneducated voters. And we do have a lot of uneducated voters. We have a lot of voters that
Yep.
are on the take. We have a lot of voters who make more money in an election than what any of us will ever make in a lifetime, because they're on to take the further the agenda of what's going on. Much as we in Fulton County, the
Yep.
Rick Barron, the director of the Fulton County, Georgia registration elections, he submitted his resignation effective 12/31. That's because he knows that the legislature is going to go ahead and make it so he can't get away with it a second time. And he knows that if he's in there a second time and they have the drastic change in their state legislature and the rules that are there, he already knows that if they try to pull the same stunt again with the midterms in 22, he's going away for a long time. And it's not going to be to a federal facility. So he definitely, there's different things taking place to stop that from happening again.
It's no different than the Battle of Athens. You guys, if you go to, and I got corrected, so I'm going to shout the guy out, but I got corrected because I thought it was Athens, Georgia. Because I'd seen this black and white movie years ago. Athens, Tennessee is where it happened. And I thought I remembered everything. Of course, it had been years before. But look up the Battle of Athens, Tennessee. And what it was a bunch of veterans came home from the war, the Second World War. And they saw the sheriff had, you know, all kinds of corruption. There was corruption in their political government. And guess what they had to do? They had to actually grab arms to take care of those voting. And when I say take care, because they were busy in the sheriff's office stuffing boxes. and they took care of those votes, and then it was counted, and they were busy filling it out when they came in. And that's what the Battle of Athens is really about. You know, that was Americans that knew how to take care of themselves. But somehow it saddens me because we've lost that thought process that us veterans, guess what? And guess what? If they would have grabbed them and everything turned out the right way, they would have probably been like, aces, you're good. Because it's about honesty. It's about truth. And that's what we're not seeing right now. Jimmy Dore was the guy, I couldn't remember his name. Jimmy Dore. And he's left wing as a Momo. And I'm telling you, I respect him because at least he will elucidate truth. I despise that he spit water in Jones's face and stuff, but because he shouldn't have done that. That was just, optics kind of thing. But, a lot of people didn't like Trump tweets. So there you go. It goes both ways. Your thoughts, brother?
I think both sides of the aisle have acted in a fashion that's wholly unacceptable and in no way, shape, or forms represents the constitutional republic. I hear the damn word democracy one more time as our form of government, and I am absolutely going to pop. It's a constitutional republic. This is why we have indoctrination instead of education.
Exactly.
Damn kids come out of freaking school and they're like, well, this is my democracy. No, it's not your democracy. It's a constitutional republic that veterans and our war dead have protected. And we're the ones that hold up this damn country. But we have people that are afraid to step out of line. And that's the hard part. We have people who won't call out the corruption as we're seeing wholesale within the GOP. And this is why right now the GOP is having so many issues keeping the line across the country. It just is not in the state of Ohio. It is just not what we see in Franklin County, where the GOP and the Democrats have uncontested races, which is an agreement that they will not infringe on another's turf for the area that they're used to having for to make their policies and for them to be able to go ahead and make their money. So both parties are responsible for these for the corruption that's taking place. It is not unique to one or the other. They're both responsible for what we have going on. But much as we saw post World War II in Athens, Georgia, too many people have lost the spirit, have lost the taste of the battle to be able to go ahead and step up.
Athens, Tennessee, because I got corrected on that.
Tennessee,
So
I'm sorry.
I did it too. I did it too, brother, because I passed through it just like you did so many times. So the gentleman that corrected me, thank you. And that's all I'll say.
Yes. Right. So, and it's much as we're seeing now with the raid of the Project Veritas journalists' offices and homes, because supposedly, Ashley Biden's diary was stolen. We have the FBI who couldn't stick to their and fulfill their oath as far as the Hillary emails. They couldn't do that. They couldn't stick to their oath in relation to Joey Beans and Hunter and their Russian connections. But yet at the same time, in NASCAR, they were quick to show up with overwhelming show of force of agents for a stupid news hoax that didn't amount to anything. So the American people have every reason to be skeptical of what they see and what they hear from the government, but worse yet, so now it's a media issue that we have known for years that is more glaringly obvious. But now what's happening though is that MSNBC, the traditional traditional word merchants, as sometimes I'll refer to them as, um, they're now calling out the Biden administration, saying, "Hey, this is wrong. Well, what about this?" And now they're getting them to the point that they're on record. So now they're going to end up being on record. And the deep state now has to be able to go back and try to find a way to undo that damage. And the unwitting accomplices to pulling back the veil to expose what's going on are the very same people that went ahead and lied during the 2020 presidential election cycle. So
Oh,
now the deep state really has a mess on their hands because all these people can't all of a sudden just come up missing. You cannot have that many people go missing. Andrew Breitbart missing, and we knew what we were getting from Andrew was the unmitigated truth. But the problem is all those uh, left. I hate calling them leftists. All those liberal journalists disappear all at one time. They can't have that many accidents taking place.
I don't call them.
So it,
I don't. Just to interject, I don't call them leftists. I call them progs and progressives is what I mean. And it's neo-progs, which is quote unquote the false paradigm of leftist, and neocons. It's the same thing. There's not a penny's worth of difference. And if you can correct me, I would gladly welcome it and entertain it, but I don't see a difference between when you have the neo progressives who didn't want it to get out of the Congress without their addendums. And then you have the neocons that are still in the Congress, 13 of them. And if I knew all their names, if you can find them, we'll name and shame them and their states. Get rid of them. It's time to primary people. If they're not American, and I do not believe progressivism is American, and I'll also say this. You're exactly right. Democracy is not what we have. Democracy is mob rule. That's what we had in 2020. No. What we are is a democratic republic. And it is a republic of states. And they're doing everything to divide states too. That's another thing. They're going into a system that nobody wants to understand. We saw this before in the Civil War with states' rights and Abraham Lincoln. Now, do you think shit in his pants, Joey Beans, can handle something like that? No, but, you know, different people in DOD, and I hate saying this because I worked for DOD for so many years, and Homeland too. If you keep destabilizing, they're balkanizing people. They're trying to make us into Yugoslavia at the breakout, and that's something people need to understand. That's not all this sticky wet masturbational fantasy that people have of civil war or revolution. They're morons if they believe this, because it's a war at doorbell level. That means you're gone. You're doing whatever you do, whatever you think you're doing as a moron. And then all of a sudden you come home to your son and your wife dead. or something like that. And I've seen that. So, people need to rethink their paradigm because they don't understand the realities of what we are looking at. And unfortunately, and I will say this very clearly, it's being done by our government to separate us. In your thoughts? You there?
I went to a website. Yeah, I went to a website and it about locked my Newsweek about locked my entire computer. I'm sorry. Well, the 13 Republicans that gave away everything to Joey Beans and Marjorie Taylor Greene, the lioness of Congress, is what I like to refer to her as. She name they name the 13 traitors. Um,
Spill it.
it is going to be former Buckeye Anthony Gonzalez of Ohio. What a schmuck! I don't see. Man, that's the only nice words that I can say to you. The scarlet and gray will only protect you for so long, jerk. And then we have. Let me go backwards here just a second because this did something that it wasn't supposed to do. But what I do want to um, recognize are the 6 Democrats, though, that stood up against this and said, not only no, but hell no. They broke ranks with
Right.
their party. And this, I believe, is almost a bigger issue because, again, it's showing much as during the elections on Tuesday. Um, they went ahead and Jamal Bowman of New York voted against um, the bill for this garbage
Yeah,
infrastructure
they
bill
they
that's been
they
given
only
away.
they only voted against it because it didn't give enough away, and that's what they did. So
Well, Cory Bush of
yeah,
Missouri,
yeah,
AOC of New York. Well, this is all basically the squad that voted against this.
yes,
Is
because
basically what it is.
they didn't get their free college, this, that, and the other. Yeah, no,
Mm-hmm.
that's why they
Yeah.
voted against it. But
Ilhan Omar,
yep,
I
I know.
Presley in Massachusetts, and Talib of Michigan. I just want to, and before we go to the 12, the 13 Republicans that voted against it, one thing that a lot of people don't know about the history of our country when the Constitution was being written came out against slavery from the very beginning. It was the
Especially
state of Massachusetts.
the Quakers from Massachusetts. I was about to say that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, they they refused to step out of line and be against slavery. Um, we'll go back to slavery in a minute. The 13 Republicans that voted and gave away the farm: Don Young of Alaska, Jeff Bandrew of New Jersey, Fred Upton of Michigan, Chris Smith of New Jersey, Tom Reed of New York, Dave McKinley of West Virginia. Boy, he's gone because West Virginia's a red state through and through. They'll primary him so quick. I don't think he'll make it to the holler before he gets something else put in him. Nicole Malatokias of New York. Wow, agreed to that? You gotta be kidding me. Boy, Georgia's has got to be all over that. Adam Kinzinger of Illinois. He's not going to run again. Uh, John Katko of New York, and then the turncoat Buckeye might as well go play for Jim Harbaugh, Anthony Gonzalez of Westerville, Andrew Gabrano of New York, Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, and Don Bacon of Nebraska. Um, they continuously give these things away because there is no penalty for not fulfilling their oath. You know, I'm going to go ahead and you and I didn't even talk about this, but this is what I am going to tell you.
Cool. Go on with it, brother. You know that.
I hear people all the time. They say police officers do not deserve qualified immunity, and we already know better. However, my answer is this. I know a lot of officers that would give up their qualified immunity if our politicians from Washington to the local level, including township trustees and city council people, if they would give up their qualified immunity.
And
That would level the
support
playing
them.
field.
And support them.
Yes. Would you like, oh my God, that would be a glorious moment in our constitutional republic where the qualified immunity evaporates. Now everyone is accountable.
Well, they should be accountable, but they're accountable to the local community. Here's the thing. The sheriff is accountable. He's voted for. And then all of a sudden we start getting police, which in Ohio, a lot of people don't understand. There is a ban under the Ohio Constitution. That's why the Ohio Patrol, every time they get somebody in there who's on the quote-unquote left side, which I don't believe in that. I think it's the one thing. If you disbelieve me, Kasich also wanted to do this. They wanted to make them a state police. They're not. Their authority is administrative on the highways and byways of Ohio. That's it. And if there's a problem going on a county road or something, and a deputy can't get there, Highway Patrol will get there, okay? For a problem now or an accident. But notice they stopped using the term accident in Ohio. It's crash because it's vague. With vagueness of crash, now you can say, well, it wasn't an accident. That person committed homicide by accidentally hitting another car, if there's a death. And so now prosecutors also I blame. This is why Soros's project for prosecutors was very effective. You need to look at your prosecutors in the county. You need to look at your sheriffs. You need to vet them. In Ohio, other states are not that way because they have a state police. It's specifically forbidden in Ohio to have a state police because the Germans who immigrated here said no. They had enough clout at that time to say we're not going to have a state police. We saw what it looks like. They had a highway patrol when it was established. And city police, okay, we get that. But that even came after sheriffs. And the sheriffs elected and able to get, and then all of a sudden, once we started getting mayors and all that shit, we started seeing the vilification of police, even back in the day. You can look it up. This is all fact. So, policing, even though I've done it, just like the fire department, policing, they have to have a little bit of immunity unless it's egregious. And yet now everything they do is egregious. And that's my thoughts. Your thoughts, brother. And I mean that.
I'm of the opinion that the way that the Ohio Revised Code is written, OSP can take over literally any incident on the roadway for procedural reasons.
Wrong.
The only person.
Wrong. I'll tell you why I'll tell you it's wrong. In Pickaway County, there was a sheriff at that time. I'm trying to remember his name now. It'll come to me. That sheriff said, in my county, any accident that happens, we'll take care of it. And I think it was Pickaway, actually. It might have been Sheriff. Why am I mind dumping his name? I can see his face. Billy, Sheriff Billy. I can't think of his last name. But there's a deputy there said, patrolman, direct traffic. I'm gonna clear this, which is stupid because the Iowa Patrol can clear an accident quickly. I mean, they that's their bread and butter, and those boys know how to do it. And but the funny thing is, Sheriff Billy, yeah, that was his last name, Billy. Anyways, it may not have been Pickaway County, it may have been another county. But anyways, Ohio went after that sheriff and his wife later. But what I remember is um, that sheriff's deputy goes, "Hey, go direct traffic. I'll clean this up because that's the sheriff's edict. The sheriff is the number one person in every county. He controls federal, state. It doesn't matter. And even city. He can tell them to pound sand. He's gonna handle it. And the interesting part on this one is that Highway Patrolman said, "No, fuck you. I'm gonna do this." And the deputy goes, "It's the only time it's ever been done." He goes, "Well, I'll arrest you." Okay, fine. He arrested him, took him into the jail. They put him on a bench. It wasn't a big deal. And the commandant of, remember, they always call him a commandant, the colonel of Ohio State Highway Patrol, came down and talked to the sheriff, and he was released within, it wasn't long. And it's funny how this shit happens because it's all power plays. But that was under Kasich, if memory serves. That happened because Kasich, Lincoln Project member, wonder why that is. Think about Lincoln Project. Look at what they do. Look at the people they've had in it. All of you Ohioans that believe in Kasich and other people need to realize what you're looking at. You're looking at some weird shit. And just look into the Lincoln Project and see how many pedophiles they protected. Your thoughts, brother?
Oh, it isn't just from the Lincoln Project and these certain conservatives who like to diddle children. I think that's the most polite way that I could possibly put it. But you have Democrat donors now that have ended up, whereas before they would not be prosecuted for any of their transgressions, to be polite about that as well, are now all of a sudden being held accountable. They are now no longer having that that professional courtesy afforded to them, that they can just simply walk away and nothing would ever happen, bad would never happen to them. It's just like Barney Frank. Boy, don't you wish Barney Frank would have been held more accountable as to what we're seeing some of the liberal people that have helped Hillary Clinton out with some of the things that they pulled off with murdering black prostitutes. But a couple other things, and I don't really like to dwell on the racial aspect of life a whole lot, but this is one thing that does bother me. It took 100 and some odd years for a black to be elected to state office in the state of Virginia. But yet this is the same state, Charlottesville to be exact, that failed to allow officers to do job when a certain someone, good, very,
Yeah,
very good brother of mine,
that's
was
truth.
there doing his job. Yeah, I know. They failed to do their job in no uncertain terms. Um, but the heart of the Confederacy is within Virginia, and all of a sudden, it took 100 and some odd years for a black to be elected to a
And they
state office.
and they act like it's white supremacy for a beautiful black woman. It's not just a black person. It's a woman. And
Well,
that Marine who is from the same service, your Navy, I'm Marine.
right,
And
right.
our naval service, that lovely lady stood up there and now she's a white supremacist. Fuck them.
Well, oh yeah. Well, and also she is an immigrant from Jamaica. I think
Yes, you're right.
Kamala's probably really even jealous because she didn't because she didn't bail and said, "Well, I'm a Black American." No, she's very, very proud of her nationality, and that she felt that the country had given her so much that the least she could do was sign on the dotted line, an open contract. Your life in exchange for the freedoms of others should you find the golden BB, find you. Um, she has no trouble putting that out there. Who was it? It was Joy Reid, I think. She said, "Yeah, anytime Joy has the nerve, she can step up to me and we can go ahead and have that talk." And Joy Reid is wants zero to do with the lieutenant governor of Virginia.
The
But key
second
things happened on Tuesday.
the second in line to governorship. And look, you and I both think the
Oh
same
yeah.
thing. You and I both think the same thing. Shit come or bleed. When we took the oath, raised our
Mm-hmm.
right hand, and I've done it a few more times than you have, with different places. It's not a dick measuring contest.
Mm.
But I always knew it's a blank check up to and including your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I had to say. You did it too.
Well,
So,
you know, but also they have the first Latino general attorney general in the state of Virginia. So this was this was really, really monumental. And I'm not using the word
yep.
as a catchphrase or anything like this. This is a monumental occasion. Now we'll flip to New Jersey. And I'm still trying to keep this light, and I'm still trying to be, within the boundaries that we set up on this.
Oh, yeah. I'm the
A
one who's
truck driver.
violated that. I'm the one who's violated that. Sorry, brother.
That's all right. But you have a truck driver that spent a $153 filing fee,
I know. I love it.
ultimately put out over $5,300, and has de-seated the most powerful Democrat in state government beyond the governor. And he is it's just a beautiful thing, and it's a real shame that unseat the governor. It's just way the hell too bad.
Look,
But there's a lot of different things to look at right now, and there's a lot of different tea leaves to read. So that has said, and this is what got McAuliffe in trouble in Virginia, is that is that the parents needed to stay out of their children's education. Here in Dublin, it is now there are various documents being released that are showing that um, they don't want the parent the school does not want the kids telling their parents what's happening in class.
But it's
It's
too
none of the parents' business.
but it's too late. Here's what COVID did to the left, quote unquote left, because I don't believe in that. Here's what it did to them, man. I'm gonna tell you. Parents were listening to what they were telling their kids, and it was all critical theory, critical queer theory. I always have to lead off critical trans theory. It doesn't matter critical race theory. It doesn't matter what that critical theory is. Critical legal theory. That's what they hide behind. And we'll get into depth on that if we want to, if we have enough time or on another show. But they push this on our kids and it's not a white black thing. As a white man, and as you are, as a white man with, it'd be like critical religious theory. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
just let's be clear on this one. If somebody would try to teach your kid whatever religion you are, which nobody needs to know, fuck them. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
if they would tell your kid you're less than because of whatever religion you are. If they would say the same thing for a black person, and they said, you need help. You need help. No, no, no. We actually, in this constitutional republic, have a ways and a means to make us all equal. And they're trying to divide us. That's what I meant by balkanization. Anyways, your thoughts?
Yeah, it's the yeah, and you are correct. Unfortunately, for the education associations that are just simple, very simply, majority of their members are communists, unapologetic, might I add. They got caught, and the parents for home had to be home because you obviously can't leave school age children like that alone. They got caught indoctrinating. And they're having the same problem in Dublin right now, is that the indoctrination process is now being exposed, and they're being shown for not um, very simply sticking with the three R's. And indoctrination is not one of the three R's: reading, writing, arithmetic. And I also take offense that some states, I don't know if you've seen this or not, um, they're mandating that there is a financial responsibility component for kids in high school that they now have to pass in order to graduate, supposedly. Hell, some of these damn states, they're lucky to have a 8% graduation rate for some of these inner city schools. What was it? I saw someone, there was a valedictorian supposedly somewhere that for a high school that had a 2.3% GPA. And that was the valedictorian of the damn school. So what happened on Tuesday is that the parents came out, and I watched it on the Ingram angle. You know, they had they very simply said, we did not look at our political affiliation. We looked at how our children are being indoctrinated by these education associations. And the education associations, I know you're going to hate this. It's not about the kids. It's about you making your $2 million. It's about how you stack the contract. And I know how you stack the contract. Don't ever say it's about raises, because your step increase is your first raise. Your step increase runs anywhere from 2 to 4% per annum. And then you want to go ahead and you want to lie to the public, and you want to tell these people that you don't get a raise. You're double dipping. Education associations are such a are such
Oh,
a
I do like it.
just racket.
I used to tell people all the time as a Fed. I said this back in the day, and you can go back, and anybody who disbelieves will see. I talked about the SES and the SIS, and I also talked about increases as long as you want to be there. And I left it. I actually left this, but you know this. And I decided, fuck it. I'll make more money in the civilian sector, and I get to choose what I want to do. It was a choice. I don't care about my choice, because my choice was valid. And I saw the corruption. Brother, I saw this back in, well, you know this. Some people who haven't heard me talk, I started to see it creep in 2004, after the G8, and different things that happened. And then I said, well, I'll give it another shot after another time. And I went to work for an American company in 2009, and left federal service again. Everybody knows I took care of my mom, 2006. She was passing from oat straw cancer, as a fact. But the interesting part was, I was like, okay, you guys are morons, and you say you do this, but you don't, because port policy trumps, notice how I said that, trumps national policy when I was working for Homeland. And I was like, I'm done with you guys. And I'd rather see the person who's aiming the gun at me than people that will stab me in the back. And I was like, fuck you all. And then in 2009, I went to work, and they were human trafficking under Obama's Aid for Africa program. This is the first time I'm actually talking about this right now. But it's funny. We're human trafficking Ugandans under Obama's Aid for Africa program, and I only found that out about 2010. And that's when I started working for foreign companies, as long as they didn't work against U.S. interest. But see, that's having a genuine concern for my nation. But I don't see that now. I don't see that now. When you have Hunter the artist, when you have, the totally qualified Hong Kong and actually legally voted in Hong Kong representative that we have as the person that says that he's occupying somewhere that has all the power, Hong Kong. It's fraud, and there was no problems in that one, by the way. No problems in that election, obviously, because Hong Kong, he was duly elected. No, Joey Beans is exactly what he is. He's explaining and expressing himself for what he is, and I do agree with you that it is. I have to be honest with you. I do agree with you that he is. Barack Obama really messed up. I think it was Leslie Stahl. It could be another woman. He was talking on 60 Minutes. What would a third term of yours look like? Well, I can't run a third term. Yeah, we all know that. But if I could, I'd get somebody in there that. And folks, research it. Don't believe me. Everything I say, don't believe me. Research. Don't believe Dano on anything either. Research it. And he said, yeah, I would have somebody else running it. And guess what he would do? He would make it exactly how it is today. This is the Great Reset. This is what you're looking at. They're resetting to communism. Don't fuck up while you sit on my big orange couch. You better understand what you're looking at. Evil is afoot right now.
And this is another reason that everyone's watching the Second Amendment case before the Supreme Court with the state of New York so closely right now. There's a lot of different things afoot, and they suspect that there will be a ruling in June, because this will. They believe one justice has already made his mind up. Kavanaugh, they do believe is going to end up shutting down the state of New York. I anticipate the state of New York possibly trying to pass another law like they did previously to stop the case from being there in the Supreme Court. But I don't think they're going to be successful this time. I don't think that it's going to be allowed to happen that way.
I don't think that'll happen, and I'll tell you why. The mayor of New York now, that's something that slipped. Everybody likes to say the left-right paradigm. The new mayor is tough on crime. And he's not, and this is the thing that really gets me. You have a fraud with de Blasio being a half Dago, which I am. A bastard Dago. You know this. That piece of shit is no more Dago than anybody. But his real name's like Wilhelm or Wilhelm. And so, so what? You married a black woman. I dated a black woman when I was in high school. I care for her. I think hopefully everything's going awesome with her and her husband. Treasure her with that memory. But should I try to change my name to the name of my illegitimate father? No. That's retarded. You don't do this. People don't do this. Only politicians do this. They lie.
Only politicians that do that are the folks that are the liars, and they definitely have every intent of violating their oath of office. Are the only people that do that crap. So it's the newly elected mayor of New York, if I do recall correctly, is a former police officer. Rank and file probably will not turn their backs
and
on
a black
him.
Man. And a black man, by the way.
And a black man. So we will have a lot of different things to take a look at. Yeah, folks, we've been all over the place, but you know what? It's just one of those. It's one of those deals this time. It's just the way that it's going to have to be. There's
there's just so much going on that we in order to really stay within one line of thought right now, it's just really difficult. But focus, pay attention to what's happening at the Supreme Court with the New York um, with the New York case, because should this continue to move as it is, and may I also add, Justice Sotomayor, is that I think that's how you say her name. She even sounded highly critical of the state of New York's law, and that because people were either um, a famous individual, a prison guard, a cop, or something like that, those are the only people that really have a reason to be able to go ahead and carry in high
Yep.
crime areas, and that Meyer came out and said, so all the other people are just basically shit out of luck. This is what this is all coming down to, and you know that did not play well at all in the grand scheme of things once that all went down. So um, I think that there's going to be some unlikely votes that will go ahead and strike and push these gun control laws out of the way. The other thing that everyone should be aware of, if you go back and you take a look at the arguments are worth reading, because what you're finding is
Yep.
we still, unfortunately, with our gun control laws, comes from the British. It comes from the old days. It comes from the King's Law, which doesn't fall under us because, well, we're supposed to be
The
constitutional.
slavery times. Let's get very
Yeah,
basic. It's the slavery times, baby.
yeah, and you know, it's well, then of course, after the War of 1812, the Rothschilds got the golden egg, and Washington D.C. was established more prominently, and it didn't stay broken up as it should have been broken up, and remained as it already was. But we're seeing a lot of the King's Law being brought into place, where a lot of times people that owned slaves were the only ones allowed to have a gun. And it was amazing to read how long guns used to be carried very openly and in public. Well, now they're concerned that the sensitive public will now see these things and be uh, afraid, be an emotional state of distraught if they see weapons openly displayed in public, whether it be a pistol, shotgun, long gun. So it's these are things to definitely be keeping an eye out for. Pay attention to it, please. It's really important that we go ahead and see that. Oh yeah, and then of course, as always, they want to go ahead and they want to make sure that they sweep under the rug that the post World War II gun control law was literally word by word from what Hitler had pushed in pre World War II Germany. They want you to forget
Fact.
that's there as well. So Dano doesn't come with a fake deck of cards. I come with a real deck of cards. I'll tell you the way that it is, and I'm not going to screw around with it because we have too much to lose. The only thing that's keeping us glued together right now is the Second Amendment, because they know that if they move against any of us, they most certainly need to have their affairs in order, because we won't miss. That's not a threat, but very simply, there are enough people
It's
on both sides of the political ideology fence that definitely will not give up their Second Amendment right.
it's a sad state of affairs, is what I'll say, because it should
What do you
never
think?
have gotten back. There's three boxes, and you and I both know this. There is the soapbox. Of course, they've taken that away on social media. um, for people like you and I. Then the next box is the ballot box. Well, the totally clean election that just happened last year, totally clean. Nothing is wrong with that election at all, even though Wisconsin, Michigan, Arizona have found massive problems. This will probably go on the other media sites instead of YouTube. I'm just being honest, because they'll pull this fucker down within a day and probably ban my thing. Here's what I'll say. And by the way, when I'm telling you, it'll be on Rumble, it'll be on BitChute, and it will be on, why am I mind dumping? The third site I use. It'll be on those three sites. And it's going to be the truth. If I see how it's received, I may risk my channel from being banned. But Dano and I just talk about the totally clean and clear election of Joey Shitty Pants. I'll talk about that, and Dano doesn't have an adversarial thought about that. Just like with the vaccines, they are what they are. And, if your doctor agrees, then get one. On paper, I have mine. So this is the facts. So here's the point that we haven't gotten to in so long, is that it's about division. They're trying to divide all of us. And we can't allow this anymore. We're Americans. I don't give a shit about your race. I don't give a shit about your religion. If you're an American and you hold those American properties, then that's what we are. And with that being said, Dano, close it out, and then I'll shut it down, brother.
Well, I don't really think that there's too much to leave after that. You have to stand up. You have to be united. It's the only way that we're going to, this constitutional republic is going to survive, is when everyone stands up and they say, no, this started on Tuesday. This started on Tuesday in Virginia and New Jersey. This now needs to go ahead and continue to be the case. And I'm going to tell you guys and gals that you need to start showing up at your school board meetings. You need not to be afraid. One of the things that really ended up getting McAuliffe in trouble was not only that there was a discussion about how parents didn't belong and grandparents didn't belong in the child's classrooms and to be part of that education process, but they also wanted to go ahead and have the FBI classify those that did not agree with them as domestic terrorists.
Oh, wow. Like, both of us haven't experienced that bullshit. Yeah. It's old school. It's stupid.
Like I said, it's just so hard. We could keep this going forever today because everything is just so target rich all the way around. But what I'm telling everyone that here's what we're doing in this broadcast today, you have got to stand up. You've been knocked on your ass before. Stand the hell up. Be counted. Don't be afraid. And know that the deep state's time is short. It isn't long. It's short. We're going to watch a very different governor's race in the state of Ohio. And just so you know, the Ohio GOP is in no way, shape, or form on their website covering anything that is happening with the governor's race. This is how unhappy the GOP as a whole, as a party for the state of Ohio, is unhappy with the draft dodger DeWine. That's how bad it is. And it's just not happening in Ohio. It's happening across the country. Folks, you got to stand up. You got to be counted. You got to let your voices be heard. If you don't, we're done. You stood up before. You had no trouble doing it. Do it now.
Spend
When
up.
when your grandkids ask you, what did you do? How did you contribute? What did you do to help save our country? Or what didn't you do? You know what? My grandkids already know what I'm doing, and they already know that if something goes wrong, what was it my granddaughters said? Don't make my grandpa come up here. You think my mom and dad are mean? You haven't met my grandpa yet. And, you know, they don't.
And
She's
grandmommy. And grandmommy.
and grandmommy.
Yeah.
Oh well, we're great. So we're great grandparents. So I mean, they our kids have a grandparents and great grandparents, and they don't want any of us in the same space with these indoctrinators. I don't call them educators; they're indoctrinators. That's exactly what they are. But these indoctrinators know that people are done screwing around with them. And folks, this is why we're telling you, stand up. Don't be afraid. Be counted. Let your voice be heard, and keep your keep your eyes and your wits about you while you're out and about. I don't have to tell you what to do. You already know. But do not be afraid to let your voice to be heard. If you want to put a hashtag of FJB on your vehicle, I encourage it. If you want to go ahead and there's a certain motorsport that's now trying to squash the let's go Brandon thing
Let's
and the
go,
use of
Brandon,
your logo.
baby.
Yeah, uh, they these guys are these organizations. They're pulling all the stops out to shut everyone down. Don't let yourself be shut down. You always used to backmouth your parents. You did it behind their back. You never did it to their face because you wanted to keep your teeth. Anyone that was smart, you did it when the parental units weren't around. You
Here's
have to stand up. You have to be heard. You have to be counted.
here's the funny thing that I'll tell you that
And
will make
closing
you.
thoughts come from you.
Well, no, it's not closing. It's just to close out the show. You got the last word. The funny thing was, I saw a meme and I posted it, and it was Joe Biden. It was so epic. Please quit saying, let's go Biden. He doesn't even know his name. With that being said, he's calling himself Brandon now, which is probably true, which is funny. So I guess we're closing out on a humorous note. Um, but I love you. I love the fam.
Absolutely.
Here's the thing. Nobody knows who you know. Nobody needs to know who you know. They try to draw circles. It's going to be hard for everybody. Because everybody's wise and has been wise before even the totally legitimate man sits in the office of the fraudulent office where flowers bloom in winter and fall outside the rose garden. Imagine that. Yeah, you know. So, but everything else is correct. It just is what it is. So, with that being said, thank you for sitting on my big orange couch. My big orange couch, as you guys have seen during the entire time, is big enough to hold everybody on my page. I respect you all. If you want to leave, leave. But it's not dystopian. I don't believe it's dystopian. It's about letting you know what's happening and the sadness that both me and Dano feel over this. Because it should never have gotten to this point. And it's kind of sad. It's kind of sad that we all have to reduce ourselves down to the smallest common denominator. All right, with that being said, thank you for sitting on my big orange couch. Grab yourself your coffee, your tea, your soda, and your adult libations, because you can hear the dogs barking. And they want to get in to get fed. And that's going to happen. Because I love them. And they just want in and they want fed. Very sad that too many people didn't wake up quick enough or fast enough. And part of that may be my fault. So grab yourself your coffee, tea, soda, and or adult libation and slowly exit out, because I don't push anybody out of Kaiser's Castle. And I'll just raise the drawbridge when you leave. With that being said, Chef out.